Alrighty. Hello, everyone. My name is Deanna Prudhomme, and today I'll be presenting on reaching an elite level. So I currently am in Boston. I work with the Boston Celtics, but during the actual season, I'll be with their G League team, the Maine Celtics, which is based out of Portland, Maine. I'll be making that move sometime this month here in October, but just to talk about the fancy letters underneath my name. So I have my master's degree, my CSCS, my USAW level 1, also precision nutrition level 1, and I am certified in personal training through the NSCA. There we go. So just a quick snapshot of my most major roles. These are my most notable roles in strength and conditioning, the ones that people typically care about. So as previously mentioned, I am the strength and conditioning coach for the Maine Celtics this season. Previously, I was at the University of Michigan, and I served as the NSCA assistantship recipient for the fall semester. And prior to that, where I did both my undergrad and grad programs, I was at Cal State Fullerton. And during my grad program, I was one of the strength and conditioning interns, as well as the women's soccer sports science intern. And I'll talk a little bit more about those as I progress through. But first, I want to get into my background. So I am from Southern California, a city called San Bernardino. If you're not from California, I usually always say I'm an hour from LA. People always know where LA is, of course. And again, I went to Cal State Fullerton. I got my master's in kinesiology, my bachelor's in kinesiology with an emphasis in strength and conditioning, and my athletic background. So I'm a little bit of a different breed. I was heavily involved in youth activities, but I participated in non-traditional sports. So I was the girly who was out rollerblading and roller skating. The waveboard was my jam. Not much of a skateboarder, but the waveboard, I was definitely on that bad boy. Riding bikes and scooters. Tetherball was also my jam. I was holding it down on the court. Also things like foursquare, wall ball, everything non-traditional, non-organized. Excuse me. But I do attribute my athleticism to my extensive background in plenty of different styles of movement. And if you don't know, studies have demonstrated that participating in a wide variety of movements can contribute to overall athleticism. So that brings me to my athletic background as I got into high school. So this is where my organized or traditional sports experience did begin. So I did play a few years of volleyball. I was on the basketball team all 4 years at John W. North High School. And lastly, I did do track and field. I attempted field events, wasn't really my jam, but I also did do short sprints and hurdles. So yeah, although I didn't grow up doing traditional sports, I think the learning curve was in my favor since I developed a lot of athletic qualities doing other athletic type of movements. But my pathway, what got me into kinesiology in the first place. So in high school, participating in athletics, I definitely had my fair share of minor injuries, thankfully nothing major or severe. But playing those sports and experiencing those minor injuries allowed me to spend a lot of time with our athletic trainer at the time. And I found her to be extremely educated on the human body and injuries. And I just thought it was amazing. I loved hearing her speak and talk about different things. I love that she was able to be at all different types of sporting events. So I piggybacked on her a lot. I learned how to tape ankles and shin splints. And overall, I thought that athletic training was the route that I wanted to take. Come to find out, I didn't really like it. So my first year of undergrad, there was an athletic trainer who came into our intro to kines class, kines 202, I believe is what it was called. And this woman, this athletic trainer, talked about her lifestyle, her duties, and I kind of just felt like that wasn't for me. So thankfully, at the same time that I was taking kines 202, I was also in the intro to resistance training course. So in that class, it was taught by a woman who was about my similar like stature, height, weight. And this was at a time where I thought women who lifted weights were big and bulky, all jacked, which we all know is not true. But yeah, one day I think I was standing over to the side doing some lunges or like dumbbell squats, something really simple. And I look over from the corner of my eye and this woman is busting out some chin ups. And in my head, I'm like, wow, I'm trying to get like her. So that pretty much set the tone for me. I changed my concentration to strength and conditioning, and I've been sold and bought in ever since. Now moving forward into my undergrad and career flow, my vibes going on. So in undergrad, I did start my career as a coach or just in the field of weightlifting, resistance training in the Student Recreation Center, or the SRC. I was a floor attendant for about a year, maybe a year and some change, until I got my CPT, my personal training certification. So then I became a personal trainer, got a few hours there, and a few opportunities opened up for group exercise classes. So I began teaching F45 and Strong Nation eventually. Then COVID hit, fun stuff, and everything became virtual. So I still worked at the rec center, the SRC, but everything became virtual. So I was teaching F45 classes virtually, Strong Nation classes virtually. Eventually, I started working at 24 Hour Fitness. So that was my brief introduction to like commercial gym settings. And I also went or attempted to go the entrepreneur route. So I was doing at-home fitness, different videos, posting on my Instagram, my TikTok, my YouTube. And that's how I learned that I'm not really like a social media girly in that sense, but it's okay. I got the experience, and I'm proud of where I came from and where I'm going. Progressing into my grad school career flow. So as I previously mentioned, I was a strength and conditioning intern. This is a cute little photo on the right side of the weight room at Cal State Fullerton. I'm going to take a little drink real quick, feeling a little parched. Yeah, strength and conditioning intern, then women's soccer sports science intern. So spent a lot of time collecting GPS data with the team, and spent a lot of time assisting in the weight room as well with that team. So I was heavily involved with women's soccer, which was an experience that I definitely loved. And my last semester of grad school, I was also an intern with Velocity Sports Performance at a facility in El Segundo. I'm blanking on the name of the facility right now, but I did work with youth athletes. This was my experience in the private sector. So if you've got onto it, I've had some experience in commercial gym settings, in private facilities, and also collegiate settings. Let's go ahead and move forward. So CSUF, Cal State Fullerton Sports Performance Internship. So strength and conditioning and sports science. Again, I did a lot with GPS. So we used Titan sensors. So there's Catapult, there's Kinexon. We used Titan. So I was responsible for collecting the devices, passing out the devices. I was responsible for managing the player loads and their readiness, and monitoring their soreness, and just keeping track of different measurements for the athletes in terms of load management and performance. And with all of this data, I used it for my graduate thesis. And as you can see with the pictures on the upper left and right, those are some pictures of some abstract presentations that I made with ACSM at the Southwest Regional Conference, as well as the NSCA. Highly recommend. I definitely recommend doing research and getting your hands-on experiences. And also, I want to tack on expanding your repertoire of knowledge in the field. So if you can get into sports science, let's say you're a strength and conditioning coach, the more you know, the better. The more you learn, the better edge that you can possibly have over other candidates when you're applying for certain roles. So that's a bit of information I do want to drop. And then those, sorry, it's just like something in my throat right now. The bottom two pictures, those are my only action shots, so I had to throw those in there. I used to carry my iPad with a hotspot to view all of the live player load data. So that was during a game. And on the screen, I would just see the individual athletes and their player load. And in my right hand, or technically looking at the photo, it's my left hand, I have one of the devices in my hand. Not that anyone asked for that information. But on the right, that's me leading the athletes or through their warm-up prior to the game. Now my sports performance internships continued. So after graduating from Cal State Fullerton with my master's, and during my master's program was the actual application process for this position. but I applied for the NSCA assistantship, which is a 5-month placement under a strength and conditioning coach with the RSCC certification. I believe it stands for registered strength and conditioning coach. I could be wrong. I could be lying to you, but a coach with that distinction. It is paid, and I highly, highly, highly encourage you to apply. It is an extensive process, but you never know you can win unless you try. It does require letters of recommendation, possibly a few essays. I remember as I got to rounds 2 and 3, eventually I had to submit a video or a couple of videos of me demonstrating an Olympic movement or an Olympic weightlifting derivative and some other like major lift. I think I did a back squat. And then what else did I do? Like a power clean from hang, something like that. Had to do some videos, but me applying for that assistantship sent me all the way to the University of Michigan. So I went from mid-major D1 Cal State Fullerton to Power 5 Big Ten University of Michigan Olympic sports. Had an amazing time. Did not work with football, but that picture on the far right, we had a staff flag football game, which was actually very fun. How many people can say that they got to play football on the University of Michigan's field? Come on now. It's called the Big House for a reason, but it was definitely a good time. Highly recommend. Now, what makes me an expert? So I think that my confidence, my ability to do something successfully, that includes my formal education, my certifications. These are all things that have provided me with knowledge on how to interpret and apply aspects of kinesiology and strength and conditioning. My work experience, so working at different levels, so that includes youth and adolescent sports, collegiate sports, and now professional sports, varying age groups. So again, youth, college level, adult athletes, older adults. In the commercial gym setting, I worked with older adults up to age. I want to say my client with back pain was probably in his mid 80s. An older gentleman, very kind, had lots of back pain, but that just goes to show that I have that wide variety of populations that I've worked with. Let's not forget pregnant women, injured or rehabbing athletes, athletes from most sports. So I've worked with lacrosse, I've worked with golf, I've worked with cheer and dance, basketball, volleyball, track and field, soccer, etc. Different settings. So that goes back to commercial gym, private gyms, collegiate gyms, and professional gyms, different settings. And then sports science is an added benefit, as I previously mentioned. So definitely get as much experience as you can. Or I got as much experience as I could in my journey. And lastly, what makes me an expert is that I try to always be a student. I recognize that no one knows everything. Even the strength and conditioning coaches that I work with at Michigan, who have been in the field for 10 years, 13 years, 17 years, even longer than that, they would tell me, even I don't know things. Sometimes I have to ask my peers, my colleagues for help. So always be a student to the game. In this field, we always know that there's new information coming out all the time. So you always need to be on your toes. You always need to be willing and able to accept other perspectives, other ideas, and, be able to roll with it. So always be, and that's a recommendation of mine. I'll probably throw that into one of my other slides later, but yeah, I'm always a student. Now, what I wish I knew as a student. First of all, not everyone cares about your knowledge. I'm gonna say that again. Not everyone cares about your knowledge. With that piece, I want to say, learn how to give relevant information in bite-sized pieces and in layman terms, because people don't really care unless they care. And you can kind of gauge, you can tell the difference when someone asks you a question, they really want to know the answer, or they ask you a question and they just want something to fix something right away, if that makes sense. So for example, especially during my entrepreneurial days, a lot of family members or friends or just people in the world in general have a lot of questions on losing weight, fat loss. How do we do it? I can give you, like, I have 6 years of knowledge, formal education in my brain. I'm ready to tell you everything I know about fat loss. But this person asking me, how do I lose weight or how do I lose weight fast? They just want a quick answer. I think a way to gauge the level of interest in your knowledge is based on the feedback that you get from the person that you're speaking to. So I believe that if someone is asking you, how can I lose weight? And they ask questions relating to the information that you provide, I think that gives you insight as to where they fall in terms of how much knowledge and information you can give to them. I hope I'm not rambling and I hope that makes sense, but I'm going to move on because I don't want to like overdo it. Next, get out of your comfort zone. Try different roles. Do internships. Finding what you don't like is equally as important as finding what you do. I promise there will be times where you take on a new job, you take on an internship, you take on some type of task, and you hate it. And that's okay. Sometimes, of course, we know learning what you like is important, but it's also important to know what you don't like. So you know that that's a path that you're not willing to take. That's a road you're not willing to walk down because you've done it before and you know you don't like it. For me, commercial gyms, private gyms, not ideal for me. So those internships I had, those jobs that I had in those settings, yes, it was great experience and I learned a ton. However, I also learned that those settings, those spaces, or those populations, etc., they're just not for me. I feel like I belong somewhere else. The knowledge that I have, I feel like I can do so much more with it somewhere else. So again, finding what you don't like is just as important as finding what you do. Next thing, get on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is your friend. Keep a good resume. That is also important. With LinkedIn, I do want to throw out that that is how I got this job. There is a website called Teamwork Online, and that is where professional sports will post their job ads. I didn't find my current role with the Celtics on Teamwork Online. I found it on LinkedIn. So build your page, get a professional headshot done, keep up with your network, use it to your advantage. Depending on where you are in your life, in your career, there may not be much that you can use LinkedIn for, and that's okay. As long as you have the page available for when you're ready to use it, I think you're in a good place. That's just my 2 cents. Next up, kind of tagging on to what I just talked about, networking. Make connections, make friends. Sometimes, and I have definitely fallen under this category, sometimes you think you can do everything on your own. And sometimes you can do everything on your own. But as you take on more duties or heftier roles, you learn that, one, sometimes people want to help you. I grew up in the mindset that people don't want to help you, people don't care. And that's not true. Sometimes people go out of their way to make sure that you're good. So use that to your advantage and always give that back as well. Definitely be open and willing to provide help for someone else because you never know when it'll be returned to you. But yeah, sometimes you think you can do everything on your own. That's great, but not always necessary. So ask for help, share your experiences with people you trust, make friends, find people you have things in common with, because we all need people. Whether you're someone who thinks you don't, we're human, we are social beings. You need people. Use them to your advantage. And I guess this just adds to it. Have a good support system. You never know what other people are going through. And that statement alone can take this conversation in different ways. But let's say you're a grad student right now and you have a heavy workload, you are stressed out, you have exams, you have studying, you have your thesis to work on, you're collecting data, you're doing research. Don't forget that there are at least 30 other people within your cohort who are most likely 10 out of 10 having the same experiences as you. Use those shoulders to lean on. Use your people for support. Use your advisors, use your mentors, use your professors, build relationships with people. I think that's what's benefited me the most, is realizing that, okay, I'm not the only person going through this. And when you share those intimate, vulnerable conversations with your peers, you relate more, you develop stronger relationships, you develop lasting relationships, you build these connections that can go a lifetime. I mean, I'm still in my mid-20s, so I don't know if I don't know how long, some of my friendships are gonna last, but they're still growing strong and, hoping that they continue. But let's go ahead and move forward. Tips for upcoming S&C professionals. Let's get into it. And I keep saying it, network, network, network. Be intentional and make yourself known. I have these photos here on purpose because these are different coaches within the field of strength and conditioning. That top left corner, I will butcher his last name, but his name is Boo Schexnayder. I could be saying that so wrong, but I've seen this man. I've seen Boo at 3 NSCA conferences in a row. This picture here was my first conference with him, and amazing individual, amazing presenter, and just a great guy. Don't know him too well, but every conference I see this man. And before I finish that statement, to the right, if you don't know who that giant man is next to me on that top right corner, do some research, but that is Powerhouse Joe Ken. And I kid you not, Joe Ken may not know my name, but I promise you that man knows my face. That bottom picture, that is Molly Benetti. She is the strength coach at USC, the USC of Southern Carolina. Basketball strength and conditioning coach. And to her left is my friend Chelsea, one of the people that I leaned on in my grad program, my undergrad program. Still a really great friend to this day. I was in her wedding and we traveled together, all that extra jazz. But those 3 individuals, I kid you not, me and Chelsea are always together. Again, Boo, Joe Ken, and Molly may not know us by name, but I promise you, every year they see us at these conferences, they're coming up to us or we're coming up to them, and there's a conversation going on. There's a, hey, what's up? How are you? This last conference in July in Vegas, Joe Ken, he came up to me and Chelsea and said, these girls right here, they are something. Again, he probably doesn't even know our names, but he came up to us. So that's the power of being intentional and making yourself known. Just show your face, show up. When I was in high school, I was in Avid, and I can look up at the ceiling now, and there are little panels that make up the ceiling. If your ceiling doesn't have panels, I don't know what to tell you, but usually, like most classrooms, will have the panels. And in this Avid class, the teacher would have every graduating class every year decorate one panel. And there was one class that decorated a panel, and it said 99% of life happens just by showing up. So sometimes you don't even have to do anything except be there, be present. And I don't mean this kind of being present. I'm here, but I'm scrolling on Instagram. I'm on TikTok. Be present. Get off your phone. Be alert. Sometimes just listen. You may not even need to say anything. Just show face. Put yourself out there. But let's move on. It's not always what you know or who you know. Sometimes it's just shooting your shot. Yes, that is a basketball reference. And that's 100% true. I knew for me that I wanted to get to a position where I was working with professional sports. As I've talked about in this presentation, I worked in the private setting, in commercial gyms, student rec center, etc. Most of my roles have been internships or like general population jobs. Who would have known that just by submitting an application on LinkedIn that I was going to land a job in the NBA? Granted, it's G League, but like I said, I'm currently in Boston. I work with the Celtics. My first real full-time job is in professional sports. So, going back to this bullet point, it's not always what you know or who you know. I didn't know anyone in this facility, not one person. Now I know everyone. I shot my shot, I sent in my application, and I landed the role. And just to add to that really quickly, because I'm rambling, because I knew I wanted to get into professional sports, after I finished my role at Michigan, I got pretty far in my application processes. I had interviews with and down to third round of interviews with the Chicago Red Stars and NWSL, a professional women's soccer team, with Atlanta United, an MLS team, and Angel City, the new NWSL women's soccer team in LA. Those are 3 professional teams where I got to the top 3 candidates, the last round of interviews. Obviously, I wasn't chosen, and thank God it's okay because I'm with the Celtics, a very great organization. But yeah, just shoot your shot, dude. Lastly, seek opportunities. Travel, explore. This photo here with the Titans banner, that was when I studied abroad. I went to Greece for 2 weeks with all those amazing people that I still keep in contact with. Yeah, seek opportunities, get out, attend conferences, present abstracts, help with research data collection, connect with others in the field. You never know who can put you in a new position, because, just because someone met you once and felt your energy and thought of you as a decent person, you never know what that person could potentially do for you. And, make friends, do fellowships, just get out. That's really what I'm trying to say. Get out and do things. Show face, y'all. My final words of wisdom, I'm going to wrap it up. Remember your why. I remember a day where, at Michigan, actually, days were long. Olympic sports at the Power 5 level. In the weight room, we're working 10-hour days. So we're in the gym 6 a.m. First team is in at 6, so we're probably actually in at 5:30. But we're in at 6. Last team until 6 p.m. So 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Days were long, days were harsh. And I struggled. I will not lie to you. If I started in August all the way through December, August was great. September, great. October hit, I felt like I hit a wall. I was crying. It was a tough time. So I definitely had to spend some time reminding myself, why am I doing this? Why am I here? And for me, I came to the conclusion that I do what I do because I want to help the best be the best and perform at their best. That's really it. Which also tacks on to why I wanted to get to professional sports. I want to help the best athletes be the best athletes and perform at their best. So having your why and reminding yourself of it can keep you fueled during times that get rough. Be comfortable being uncomfortable. We all know life is tough. Life throws curveballs. A powerful skill in any arena is learning to accept what comes and move with it. Even with the frustrations and complexities, sometimes you have no choice but to change directions. You got to learn how to navigate. You got to know how to change it up. Knowing how to navigate that space, both psychologically and physically, can take you very far. Never think you know everything. I for sure said this earlier. I definitely talked about this. Even the experts, the ones who have been in the field for many, many years, are still learning. My mentor at the University of Michigan, person I love dearly, Kate Smith, she would tell me she's been coaching at Michigan, I believe 10 years, maybe 11, maybe 12 now, something like that, something over a decade. And she would tell me all the time, I don't know everything. Sometimes I still go to Mike, who is the director of strength and conditioning of Olympic sports at Michigan. Sometimes I go to Mike and I asked him about this program. Like, what do you think about this? What are your thoughts? Experts don't know everything either. They might know more than you, but they don't know everything, especially in this field where things are always ever changing. What else did I want to add to that? You don't know what you don't know. So keep learning. Always be open to learning new information. Someone always knows something that you don't. Also want to add, give back, which I guess I did talk about earlier. Give back. Give what you want to be given to you. So when I talked about asking for help, provide help as well. That makes people more open and willing to help you in your times of need. Like, oh, Deanna helped me before, Dee helped me before, so let me go give her a hand. Let me help her out. So, yes. Last one on this slide. Give yourself grace. Give yourself some grace. That purple photo says, be gentle with yourself. You're doing the best you can. Sometimes we beat ourselves down. Sometimes we may feel like our back is against the wall, or we're failing, or maybe we made a mistake and we're like, oh, I can only focus on that one mistake that I made, or those several mistakes that I made. That's okay. You are learning. We are all learning. You are your biggest critic. So don't add that extra judgment onto yourself. Knowing that the billions of other people in this world are already going to judge you. They're going to create their own perspective of you. You have no control over that. But what you do have control over is yourself, how you treat yourself, how you speak about yourself, how you talk to yourself in your mind, out loud. Mistakes will happen. They are inevitable. I've made several mistakes. And yes, I'm saying this, but I've also been the person to really just sit and sulk in my mistakes, like really feel down because I fucked up. But guess what? What's the L? What's an L for you? That's an L. All right. Right? Making sure it's an L for you. Sometimes an L is a lesson, not a loss. So give yourself grace, learn from it. You are human. At the bottom in green, I say, have fun, do your best, and let life handle the rest. I believe that's all I have for you. If you have any questions or concerns, feel free to reach out. My current email, hopefully I stay with this team long term, because I have no idea how long individuals will be able to access this video. But it is D Prudhomme, my first initial and my last name at Celtics.com. I don't know if I should give my personal email. I don't know if I should do that. Not gonna give my phone number. That's not a good idea. But I do have LinkedIn. That's always going to be an option. Feel free to reach out to me there. I do have my professional Instagram account. It's at Coach Deanna. Feel free to use me as a resource. One thing I do want to throw out that I did completely forget, when it goes back, I guess I'm going to take you back to the slide. Networking. I think I passed it. Networking. Be intentional. Okay, I don't know where it is. Probably past it. Here it is. All right, networking, be intentional. So I have been on both ends of this, which is why I want to bring it to your attention, even though I'm 41 minutes into this video. When it comes to reaching out to people, because people always tell you, network, make connections, reach out, blah, blah, blah. In your mind, or at least in my mind, I was always like, okay, I need to reach out to this person. I just need something to say to this person, to make myself known. As I said, make yourself known. But The caveat to that is have a reason to reach out to people. Don't just send a DM to a coach or reach out to a trainer online and not have any real meaning to your conversation. Um, I've definitely had one or two individuals reach out to me and they're always saying, "Oh, I want to meet with you. I want to talk. I want to chat. I want to pick your brain." And I'm like, "Okay, shoot, let's go for it." Or, "Hey, can we meet on this day? Or can I call you on this day?" "Yeah, sure, let's go for it." And then I never hear from them. They never set up a call. Now I feel like my time is wasted. So every time you reach out to me, now I feel like you're a burden, like you're wasting my time. So when you're reaching out to people, have a reason. Tell them your availability. Ask them their availability. "Hi, my name is Deanna. I'm a strength coach in the G League, and maybe I want to transition to the NFL, and I just want to pick your brain. My availability is Monday through Friday after 3 p.m. Are you available?" Boom. You have your why, you have your availability, you introduce yourself, and you know, the reason for your conversation. So be intentional when you network. Don't just reach out for the sake of networking. Um, yes, that's really all I have for you for sure this time. Um, thank you for listening. I hope you took something out of this. I hope to help tons of people out there in my journey. So many people have supported me in so many different ways. So a goal of mine and intention of mine is to be able to give that back as well. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but because it was given to me, I want to give that back as well. So feel free to reach out, and I wish you all the best of luck in your future endeavors. Bye. Thank you.